Good morning, everyone. This is Regina Stevens, the Assistant Corporate Secretary for the New York Transportation Development Corporation. Before we begin our meeting this morning, I would ask everyone to please mute your line unless you are speaking. I will now take a roll call of the directors to ensure we have a quorum present on the line. When you hear your name, please say present. George Haggerty.
Present.
Kathleen Mize.
Present.
Pravina Raghavan.
Present.
Okay, thank you. Acting Chair Haggerty, we have a quorum and you may start the meeting.
Thank you, Regina. I now call to order the meeting of the directors of the New York Transportation Development Corporation for Thursday, February 24th, 2022. Before we get started, I ask that everyone mute their phones until you're ready to speak. Also, I ask that anyone wishing to speak to please state your name before you begin. I'd like to note for the record that in accordance with recently passed legislation, this meeting will be conducted by a teleconference. I will also note for the record that the public has been given the opportunity to comment on the agenda items by submitting their written comments to nytdc@esd.ny.gov by 5 p.m. yesterday, and no comments were received from the public concerning today's agenda items. The directors have received the relevant written materials in advance of today's meeting and are free to ask questions at any time. Before we begin the substantive portion of the meeting, I would like to ask the directors whether anyone has any potential conflict of interest with respect to today's agenda items. If so, please make an appropriate disclosure on the record at this time. We will then be sure that you may recuse yourself from any discussion or vote with regard to the item.
Good morning, George. It's Kathleen. I'd like to let you know in advance that for item 2, as I am part of the subject matter of that item, I will be recusing myself from voting on that item. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. Okay. Hearing none other, and the foregoing conflict having been noted by Kathleen for the record, our first order of business is the approval of the minutes for the directors' meeting of June 11th, 2021 and October 14th, 2021.
This is Pravina. I move to approve the minutes.
Kathleen, I second.
Thank you.
Sorry, George.
That's okay. Were there any questions, comments, additions, or deletions to the minutes?
None from Pravina.
Okay. If not, I'll now entertain a motion for approval of the minutes.
Take two. This is Pravina. I'll motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
And Kathleen, yes, Kathleen seconds.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you. I'll now ask Mayoko Okubo, to present the next item on today's agenda, requesting the appointment of officers to the corporation. Mayoko, please begin.
Good morning, and thank you. The officer positions of Controller, Treasurer, Deputy General Counsel, and Assistant Treasurer of the corporation are currently vacant. As a matter of corporate housekeeping and to ensure the corporation has a complement of officers at any given time who can execute required documentation on the corporation's behalf, it is recommended that Kathleen Mize, Matthew Bray, Goldie Wexel, and Peter Highbrown be appointed to the corporation as the Controller, the Treasurer, Deputy General Counsel, and the Assistant Treasurer, respectively. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayoko. I'd like to remind everyone to please state your name before speaking. Are there any questions or comments from the directors with regard to this item?
Hi, George. There's just
a reminder that
I'm sorry, it's
Kathleen.
Go ahead, Kathleen.
No problem, Pravina, sorry. Just reminding that I will be recusing myself from this item.
Thank you, Kathleen. Any others?
I have no questions.
Okay. As noted earlier, we do not have any comments from the public with regard to this item. I will now entertain a motion for approval on this item.
Hi, this is Pravina. I motion to approve this item.
I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Same here, aye. Any opposed? No. Thank you. The motion carries. Matthew Bray will now present the next agenda item requesting authorization to perform certain acts in connection with the sale and delivery of NYTD Special Facility Revenue Bonds, Series 2022, tax-exempt AMT for the JFK Terminal 4 project. Matthew, could you please begin?
Thank you, and good morning, Director. Today we are asking the Board to approve the operative provisions, sale terms, official statement, bond purchase agreement, related documents, and related actions in connection with the sale and delivery of New York Transportation Development Corporation, TDC or the issuer, Special Facility Revenue Bonds, Series 2022, tax-exempt AMT, Terminal 4 John F. Kennedy International Airport Project, to be referred to as the Series 2022 bonds, to be issued for the benefit of JFK International Air Terminal, LLC, or the borrower, in an amount not to exceed $1,600,000,000. The borrower has requested that TDC issue the Series 2022 bonds to pay costs relating to the modernization, expansion, and equipping of the existing Terminal 4 and other related facilities at the John F. Kennedy International Airport, collectively to be referred to as the project, and to pay a portion of the interest on the Series 2022 bonds accruing during construction of the project, to fund a debt service reserve fund for the Series 2022 bonds, and to pay costs of issuance related to the Series 2022 bonds. The land on which the terminal is located, together with the buildings, structures, improvements, and related facilities on such land, to be referred to as the premises, are owned by the City of New York, or the city, and are leased by the city to the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, or the Port Authority, pursuant to a lease agreement entered into in 1947 and a restated agreement of lease of the municipal air terminals dated November 24, 2004, as amended, and as further amended or otherwise modified from time to time to be referred to as the basic lease. The basic lease is currently scheduled to expire on December 31, 2060, but is subject to earlier termination in certain circumstances. The premises have been leased by the Port Authority to the borrower pursuant to an agreement of lease entered into as of May 13, 1997, as amended or otherwise modified from time to time to be referred to as the lease agreement. The lease agreement is currently scheduled to expire on May 24, 2043, but is subject to earlier termination in certain circumstances. The Series 2022 bonds will be issued and secured under the Master Indenture of Trust, or the Master Indenture, as supplemented by a First Supplemental Indenture of Trust, or the First Supplemental Indenture, and a Second Supplemental Indenture of Trust, or the Second Supplemental Indenture, each dated as of December 1, 2020, and as further supplemented by a Third Supplemental Indenture of Trust to be dated on or about March 1, 2022, which, together with the Master Indenture, the First Supplemental Indenture, and the Second Supplemental Indenture, will be referred to as the indenture, each by and between the issuer and the Bank of New York Mellon as trustee. For the administration of certain funds and accounts, the borrower and trustee entered into a trust administration and accounts agreement with the Bank of New York Mellon as the trust agent and as the securities intermediary, dated as of December 1, 2020. The Series 2022 bonds will be special limited revenue obligations of the issuer, payable from certain payments to be made by the borrower to the issuer under the loan agreement dated as of December 1, 2020, which is the original loan agreement, as amended by the first loan agreement amendment dated as of December 1, 2020, to be referred to as the first loan agreement amendment. Second loan agreement amendment to be dated on or about March 1, 2022, which together with the original loan agreement and the first loan agreement amendment will be referred to as the loan agreement. Each buy-in between the issuer and the borrower and the Series 2022 note of the borrower, or the Series 2022 note, and the unconditional guarantee from the borrower to the trustee dated as of December 1, 2020, to be referred to as the original guarantee, as affirmed by the borrower with respect to the Series 2020 C bonds pursuant to an affirmation of guarantee dated December 15, 2020, which is the 2020 guarantee affirmation, and to be affirmed by the borrower with respect to the Series 2022 bonds pursuant to an affirmation of guarantee to be dated on or about March 1, 2022, which together with the original guarantee as previously affirmed by the 2020 guarantee affirmation will be referred to as the guarantee. Payments of principal, redemption price, purchase price, and interest on the Series 2022 bonds will be unconditionally guaranteed by the guarantee. As security for the payment of the borrower's obligations under the loan agreement, the Series 2022 note, and the guarantee, the borrower has granted to the issuer and the trustee a leasehold mortgage on the borrower's leasehold interest under the lease agreement, pursuant to a leasehold mortgage, assignment of leases, security agreement, and fixture filing dated as of December 1, 2020. It will be referred to as the original TDC leasehold mortgage, as amended by the First Amendment to TDC leasehold mortgage, assignment of leases, security agreement, and fixture filing to be dated on or about March 1, 2022, which together with the original TDC leasehold mortgage will be referred to as the TDC leasehold mortgage. Terminal 4 constitutes the premises under the lease agreement and is subject to the lien of the TDC leasehold mortgage. The Series 2022 bonds will be further secured by certain monies and securities held by the trustee for the Series 2022 bonds under the indenture. The issuer is a mortgagee to secure an exemption from the mortgage recording tax, and pursuant to the assignment of leases, security agreement, and fixture filing date as of December 1, 2020, has assigned its interest in the TDC leasehold mortgage to the trustee for the benefit of the holders of the Series 2022 bonds and the holders of the New York Transportation Development Corporation Special Facility Revenue Bonds Series 2020A, tax-exempt AMT, Terminal 4 John F. Kennedy International Airport Project. The Special Facility Revenue Bonds Series 2020B, taxable, Terminal 4 John F. Kennedy International Airport Project, and the Special Facility Revenue Bonds Series 2020C, tax-exempt, non-AMT, Terminal 4 John F. Kennedy International Airport Project, collectively to be referred to as the Series 2020 bonds, for certain reserved rights. The issuer has assigned its right, title, and interest under the loan agreement, except for certain reserved rights, and the Series 2022 note and Series 2020 notes to the trustee as security for the Series 2022 bonds and the Series 2020 bonds. The borrower, the Port Authority, the trustee, and the issuer have consented to the TDC leasehold mortgage pursuant to the consent to TDC leasehold mortgage and other TDC financing documents, as supplemented by the first supplement to consent to TDC leasehold mortgage and other TDC financing documents, and the second supplement to consent to TDC leasehold mortgage and other TDC financing documents to be dated on or about March 1, 2022. And to further secure its obligations with respect to the Series 2022 bonds and the Series 2020 bonds, borrower has executed a security agreement with the issuer and the trustee. The Series 2022 bonds are special limited revenue obligations of the issuer and are not payable from or secured by any property of the issuer other than the trust estate pledged under the indenture. The Series 2022 bonds are not a debt of the State of New York or the state, the New York Job Development Authority, JDA, the New York State Urban Development Corporation doing business as Empire State Development, ESD, or any other local development corporation, agency, or authority of the state, and none of these entities shall be liable on the Series 2022 bonds. As is customary in a conduit financing, the rights and responsibilities of the issuer are limited under the indenture and other financing documents. The borrower has agreed to indemnify the issuer, the state, JDA, and ESD against certain liabilities or to contribute to any payments required to be made by the issuer relating to such liabilities, including liabilities under federal securities laws. The requested approval of the terms and authorization of the sale of the Series 2022 bonds and related actions in connection with the project constitutes a Type 1 action as defined by the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, or SEQRA, and the implementing regulations of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. Accordingly, NYPDC has caused to be prepared an environmental assessment along with a supplemental SEQRA report to be considered whether the project, in conjunction with the other components of the JFK redevelopment program, would result in significant adverse impacts on the environment. After considering each of the relevant areas of environmental concern, the SEQRA report concluded that no significant impacts would result from the JFK redevelopment program. TDC staff recommend that the issuer make a determination of no significant effect on the environment and authorize a negative declaration to be issued. The issuer also will enter into a bond purchase agreement for the initial underwriting of the Series 2022 bonds. The issuer is being asked to delegate authority to its officers to approve the maturities, prices, yields, and other terms of the Series 2022 bonds, which are expected to be issued as fixed-rate bonds and to price and close in March 2022. The Series 2022 bonds will be subject to optional and mandatory redemption in whole or under certain circumstances in part at the option of the borrower as permitted by the indenture. In accordance with the attached resolution, you are hereby requested to 1. Make a determination of no significant effect on the environment. 2. Approve the terms and authorize the sale of the Series 2022 bonds on a negotiated basis. 3. Confirm the appointment of J.P. Morgan Securities, LLC as underwriter. 4. Approve the form and content of the official statement and various other documents in connection with the sale and delivery of the Series 2022 bonds. And 5. Authorize certain officers and employees of the issuer to take all actions deemed necessary to accomplish the final sale and delivery of the Series 2022 bonds. Thank you, and I am happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions or comments from the directors with regard to this item? I have one. What is the size of the universe now? Meaning, I understand it, the 2020 and the 2022. What is the total indenture, loan agreement, or indebtedness? What are we talking about size-wise, monetarily? Okay,
the 2022 bonds are expected to be about $1.2 billion. Series 2020, can I ask Peter? I think you're on. Do you have that number?
I don't, but the 1.2 billion number is the I guess the number that we're asking for approval today, and we can certainly get more information for you on some of the prior series and send that to you after the meeting.
So suffice it to say that the 2022 is in addition to the 2020. It's not being subsumed in. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, this is new money being raised.
Sure. Okay. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Any other questions or comments from the directors?
No questions from Pravina.
Thank you. Hearing none other. As noted earlier, we do not have any comments from the public with regard to this item. I will now entertain a motion for approval on this item.
It's Pravina. I motion to approve the item.
And I'll second. Thank you, Pravina. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you. The motion carries. There being no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Kathleen, I'll motion to adjourn.
I'll second that and say an aye.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone, for your thank you, everyone, for your participation in today's meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.